Peace be with you.
Also with you.
Please be seated. It's not hard to imagine what it was like for the disciples that night as they crossed the Sea of Galilee. We need only think about the storms that have blown through our own lives. Think of a time when your life was drenched in darkness. That 3 or 4 in the morning kind of darkness, so dark that you can't even see your own hand. You do not know what is ahead or when you will arrive at the new shore. Think of a time when it felt as if you were drowning in fear. Such fear that you even began to see ghosts. Something was there. Something was going to get you. And while ghosts may not be real, fear certainly is. Recall those days when the winds of change were blowing against you, and no matter what you did, how hard you rode, you got absolutely nowhere. Maybe there was a time when the events of life battered you over and over like ocean waves. Storms come in all sorts of different ways, striking individuals, families, churches and church communities, nations and the world. Cancer, divorce, schism, famine, war. We can all tell stories about how life was blown off course, the structures of life were washed away, plans and hopes damaged or destroyed. Whenever the storms of life arise, so does the question of faith. Do we have faith? Do we have the right kind of faith? Do we have enough faith? Why does my faith even matter? Jesus' question to Peter is one that often haunts us as we cross the sea of life. Today's gospel, we hear Jesus tell Peter, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" And there's something about that question that makes quick, trite answers and assumptions much too easy. Have you ever heard people tell you, you just need a little faith, and if you had more faith, you would get more? A different kind of faith, and your life would be so much better, so much easier. If your faith were stronger, you wouldn't doubt, struggle, or even have those kind of questions. And so I wonder what would have happened if Peter had more faith, if Peter had enough faith, if Peter had a different kind of faith. And the usual answer is that Peter's fear would have disappeared. The wind and waves would have been of no consequence, and he would have just continued water. And there is a real danger in this kind of theology and understanding of faith. It says that if we have enough faith, we will overcome the storms of life, and in some spectacular way. Somehow we will transcend the laws of nature, physics, and biology, that we can even defy gravity. In extreme cases, some will forgo care for faith. And that is not the kind of faith to which we are called. That is not what faith is about. That is more about magic than faith. It seeks proof or evidence to support belief. That kind of faith will not carry us through the storms of life. Eventually, we will all sink like rock in a water. And that's what happened to Peter. Perhaps it is no coincidence that his name in Greek means stone or rock. Regardless of how much faith we have, diseases take a toll on our body. Accidents happen. Loved ones die. Despite our faith, life is hard. It's difficult. Relationships break up. We don't always get what we want. And no matter how strong our faith, the sea of life gets rough and stormy. Maybe the usual answer is just simply wrong. Maybe faith is not about walking on water through the storms of life, but maybe it's about staying in the boat. With a different kind of faith, Peter would have stayed in the boat. You of little faith, why did you doubt? Maybe Jesus is asking Peter, why did you get out of the boat? After all, Jesus is the one who made the disciples get into the boat the first place. Jesus is the one who told them to go on ahead to the other side. Jesus is the one who prayed during their night voyage. Jesus is the one who came to them in the midst of the storm. And Jesus is the one who reassured them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." It was Peter's idea to get out of the boat. Peter is the one who wanted to defy gravity, the one who sought some spectacular proof of Jesus' identity, presence, and power. "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Peter's words are reminiscent of an earlier time and place. Remember Satan in the wilderness? If you are the Son of God? And Peter's faith has taken him out of the boat and has put God to the test. I don't say this in judgment or criticism of Peter. I, who also have his name, recognizes himself many times in the apostle and disciple Peter. I am also one who likes to walk on water and escape the storms of my own life. I say this as one who has seen and heard others express the same desire. At some level, we have probably all lived with Peter's faith. To the extent we need to go on ahead to a different kind of faith. The disciples' voyage across the sea is a passage from one kind of faith to another. It is the journey from faith used to escape life's storms to a faith that carries us through them. From an external faith of physical presence and proof to an interior faith of deep spiritual presence. From a faith dependent on circumstances of our life to one that experiences Christ present, regardless of your storm. Jesus physically separated himself from the disciples and set them on ahead. But remember, he never left them. Their faith and our faith must now be experienced as larger than Jesus, larger than his physical presence, not limited by the boundaries of what can be seen, heard, touched, or understood, independent of miracles that overcome the laws of nature. Jesus is taking us from a get out of the boat kind of faith to a stay in the boat kind of faith. This transition of faith happens in the dark night of our life, in the midst of our own personal life storms. And in every storm of life, we must decide whether to get out or stay in. And faith is not a way to escape the winds and waves of life. It is the way through storms of life. Sometimes faithfulness means staying in the boat and simply rowing without stopping. A stay in the boat faith knows that Christ is always and will always come to us. Remember, we are never abandoned by Christ. There is no storm we go through in which Christ is not with us. A stay in the boat faith never gives up, because Christ never gives up on you. With every storm through which we sail, Jesus comes to us saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." He gets in the boat with us, and the winds cease. Our walking on water is not the miracle. The miracle is that Christ is stronger than any storm that comes our way. And the miracle is that with Christ in the boat, we are able to pass through the storms of life to a new shore and a new life where Christ is on the other side, waiting for each of us. Amen.